Hi, thank you for joining me today. It's Geraldine from the Paper Puffin Studio, and today I'm going to show you how to make this fun fold card. It has a belly band which slides off and opens like this. I believe it's called a Miura card. I hope you enjoy this video. If you do, please remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Now let's get started. Let's begin by reviewing all of the pieces that you're going to need to build this card. You'll need your base color, measuring 5.5 inches wide by 10.5 long. You'll need another piece of your base color. This piece measures 5.5 inches by 7 inches. And then a final piece of your base color, measuring 1 inch by 10.5 inches. You'll need a piece of white cardstock measuring 3.25 by 5.25, and another piece of white cardstock that will be scrap, and I'll use this to help decorate the belly band. For designer series paper, you're going to need a piece cut at 3.25 by 5.25, and another piece of the same designer series paper cut at 3.25 by 2.75. A coordinating designer series paper cut at 3.25 by 5.25, and then another coordinating designer series paper, 3 pieces cut at 3.25 by 2.75. I've also gone ahead and die cut these pierced blooms dies because I want these to help decorate the front. Now I'll take the largest piece of the base color, and with the longest edge lined up at the top, I'm going to be scoring this at 3.5, slide it over to 7, and score again. I'm then going to take the other piece of the base color, and with the longest edge, the 7-inch edge along the top, I'm going to place that in here, and lining it up at 3.5, I'll score this piece. I've got the mark right here at 1 7/8 of an inch, and I'm going to be scoring from that mark to this top corner and from that mark to this top corner. To do that, I'll fold the paper. I've got my pencil line right here so I can see it clearly, and I'm going to line it up in the track. I'll place the point of the paper here and the pencil line in the other part of the track, and then I'm ready to score. You can see that the scoring then is effective for each piece. If you want to have this a little bit more indented for scoring, you can just close and then follow along on that line again and score on this side. Now I'm going to do the same thing with this little pencil mark, and I'm going to be scoring from the pencil mark to the bottom corner here and pencil mark to this place here. To do that, I'm going to fold my paper and repeat. The pencil mark will get placed in the track, and then I'll line it up with where the scoring was done. I can see both score lines, but just to make it more prominent, I'll repeat by folding and scoring on the other side. Now for the folding along the score lines, I'm going to be pushing in on this portion here, and then that will form the shape that I want. I'll then burnish along that edge. Now for this piece here, this will get pushed up and the shape will be like this. I'm now going to work on cutting these two pieces of designer series paper. This piece will end up here, and this piece will end up here. Now to cut these two pieces of designer series paper, I need my ruler, and I'm going to be lining up this right hand edge for this first piece at 1 3/4 and making a little pencil mark. I'm going to take the other piece of designer series paper, and from the bottom up on the left hand side, I'll be making a pencil mark at 1 3/4. Now to cut away this top portion, I'm going to place this in my trimmer with the pencil mark in the track and the tip up here. I'm going to put my blade down kind of in the middle somewhere so as not to damage the corners. And then I'll get the two pieces that I need. These two pieces will get put in place on this panel of the card, here and here. But you'll notice that this top piece is a little too snug. So I have to cut away 1/4 of an inch along this edge here. So to do that, I'll just place this in my trimmer, line it up at 1/4 of an inch on the right hand side, and trim away 1/4 of an inch. That will allow the piece to now fit nicely in place. And so I'll go ahead and glue those two pieces in place. Now those two pieces have been glued in place, and I'm now ready to cut this piece of designer series paper. You'll remember I went from the bottom left side up to 1 3/4 of an inch. I'm now going to cut from that pencil mark to this corner. Lining up the pencil mark now in the track and the corner of the paper in the other portion of the track down here, I'll drop my blade partway through the paper and cut along. That will allow me to get the piece that I need for this portion, and then I need this one for here. Now just like what happened earlier, I need to cut away 1/4 of an inch on the flat side of the paper. To do that, I'll just simply place this in my trimmer and cut away 1/4 of an inch. I line it up on the right hand side with 1/4 of an inch and trim away that piece. And then I flip it over and we'll glue it in place. I'll go ahead now and glue those two pieces in place. Now I'm ready to prepare this center panel. So to do that, I need the coordinating designer series paper. I'm going to be cutting one piece to go in this top triangular portion and one piece down here. And then I'll be cutting out the piece of white for this center. I'll start with this top portion. To do this, I need to measure down from the top to 1 3/4 of an inch and make a little pencil mark. So I'll go ahead and do that, lining it up at 1 3/4 and making a little pencil line. Now to go through what I've done for the white center panel, I made a pencil line or mark right here at 1 3/4, and I made a pencil mark here at 1 3/4. I then placed this panel in my cutter and trimmed away this piece and this piece. I'm left with this center piece then that will get glued in place in the center of the card. I'll go ahead and glue this in place and we'll pick up there. Now with all of the designer series paper attached to the base of the card, I'm ready to prepare this portion which will go in behind. And I want to line up the designer series paper so I have the flowers on the right panel and the grid on the left panel, just like I have here. So I'll go ahead and glue these two pieces in place. Now these two pieces are glued in place and I'm ready to make a little pencil mark on the side of my paper here. So I'm going to make a pencil line at 2 inches and I'm going to be cutting away from this 2-inch mark up to this corner. Now you don't have to do this exactly with your paper trimmer. You can just do it with scissors. So I'll go ahead and cut that piece away and we'll pick up there. I've now glued that piece in place, so I'll just flip over the card so you can see. So this piece here was glued in place, and you'll see that I have glued the panel onto behind here and here. I didn't want to put any glue in any other places because it won't allow the card to bend the way I want it to bend. Now this piece in the back is enabling the card to stand up. Without that, the card would have fallen over. Now I'm ready to start making the belly band for this card. To start preparing the belly band, I have my strip of base color, which we cut out earlier, and I took the scrap piece of white, and using this stitch-shaped circle, I cut out a circle for the front. The diameter of this circle is about 2.5 inches. I've placed all of the flowers and greenery that I want on the stitched circle. I've gone ahead and stamped thank you, and now I'm ready to make the belly band. To do that, I'll close up the card and I'll wrap the belly band around the back and across to the front. I'll do this so that it's not too tight. I want to make sure that this can slide on nicely. So to do that, what I typically do is I make a little pencil mark on either side, and then when I go ahead and make the score line, I'll put the score line just to the outer edge of that pencil mark. I've scored the belly band. You can see that the pencil lines are just on the inside of where I placed the score lines, and I'll go ahead and fold and burnish those folds. I'll end up trimming off a little bit of this belly band. Now to remove the double-sided tape backing, and then fold the belly band over on itself. Remember, I want the belly band to be able to move quite easily. Then I'm going to be gluing this in place and attaching the sentiment. I'll go ahead and finish that up. And so here we have the finished card. The belly band slides off, and the card opens like this. I've made another one to show you, which has a bit more of a masculine feel. And here's the other one. The belly band comes off like this, and you can see that the card opens like this. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.